It's the Standard Pauper Show. It's a show about Standard Pauper. Hello, everybody. It's Brennan. Today we're going to have a special guest again by the name of Sam, a.k.a. Vault Boy Hunter. Standard Pauper Gauntlet's going on. Guess what? Round 4 in the books, so to speak. I'm not actually keeping a book. I should consider an Excel workbook a book. Sure, why not? Who's going to last the longest? I don't know. Just check this out. Seriously, this is what I was afraid of. 5 left. Demir Mill, Loyal Boros, Mono Green, Mono Red, Rakdos Regen. Now Rakdos Regen hit a bit of a janky snag, but hey, made up the rules, gotta stick with them. Round 5 is going to start this week. And there it is. Your contenders. And I see this going on for a long time. I'm afraid we're going to get up against the release, which happens this weekend. That means I'm going to do round 5 as quick as possible. I will notify the brewers of who all is left, and they will then have a week, meaning no Pauper Gauntlet next week, to get the new cards. What happened this week in Standard Pauper? Actually, it was last week. This week's Standard Pauper games are going on right now as I'm making this. So, what do we have? Azorius Aggro by Toreth. Toreth? Where do I know that name? Oh, that's right, because Toreth championed a deck. Well, hello, Toreth. Welcome to the Gauntlet. Boros Auras by Adner. Standard Black, all black. And another Azorius Aggro by Gwynedd. All strong decks. Let's take a look at the winner. Azorius Aggro, your basic Azorius build. Got your spells. I love Mizzium Skin. I think it's a little bit overlooked these days, but it is the blue God's willing. It's very nice. I love the fact that it can make all your dudes hexproof for a time. Or dudettes. Hey, Wingsteed Rider, you are just as welcome in my games as any other of the male cards like Cloudfin Raptor, Loyal Pegasus. I don't know, those dudes, things, it's he, she's, again, transgender. You're all welcome in my deck. Don't discriminate. Looky here. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, look at my fancy design. Opening hand. Island, Plains, Island. Keening Apparition. Daring Skyjack. Hands of Binding and Akroan Skyguard. Akroan Skyguard. I barely knew. That doesn't work. I say this is a keep. You got plenty of mana. 3 creatures. 1 utility creature, and a Hands of Binding. Now, you're not going to be targeting Hands of Binding on your Akroan Skyguard. I hope not. I guess it could happen. That'd be a weird way to go about getting a hero trigger. Now look at this. See, you said opening hand of 3 mana. You top out at 3 mana. Pretty handy. Next 6 draws. Hopeful Eidolon, Cloudfin, Hidden. Whoa. Keening and Hidden. That is so much hidden strings. Well, at least you have them coming up. But anyway, there's the curve. 1 drops, 16. And then 22 drops. That's amazing. And 4 3 drops. That's it. Wow. Man, this is a weenie deck if ever there was one. That's pretty cool. Let's see what is next. Phew. Brew time. Journey into Nyx cards. Okay, we're at the part of the show. We're going to go over some new deck lists and also some revisions of decks that actually have competed in the Standard Pauper Gauntlet. Like I mentioned earlier, my special guest today is Vault Boy Hunter. Say hello to the nice people.
Hello, this is Sam. I'm here to talk about cards.
Yep, we're going to talk about cards. Two grown men, families of our own, talking about a kids card game. Nothing creepy about that at all.
Nothing at all.
So, let's talk about some deck revisions. I started out, one of my favorite decks, even though it did not last that long, was Blue Sky. It's a mono blue flyers, probably because I was such a huge fan of it back in the olden days, pre-rotation. Simple, straightforward, fun to play. So what I did is I took blue flyers and added what I think were, some of the better cards out of Journey to Nyx. And what Sam did is he took Heroes of Akros and did the same thing. So I'll go over mine, and then Sam will go over his, and then we'll kind of flip-flop and talk about some new decks that we've been brewing up with the new cards that were spoiled. So let's start off. This is Blue Sky 2, the Bluening. So
Excellent name.
I made it up. I think so too.
It's great.
So what we have for creatures, Cloudfin Raptor, Vaporkin, Windrake, and then I added Cloaked Siren for the Flash 3/2, which I absolutely love. And then the Siren's cousin, Nephalia Seakite, rounds out the creatures. Cloudfin Raptor just for the growth that it can do in the 1-drop. Vaporkin, it's a 2-drop, 2/1 flyer, always fun to see. Windrake, classic, a 2/2 flyer for 3. Oh, but there's also Nimbus Naiad, which counts as an enchant, but I'll mention it here as well. Nimbus Naiad is also a 2/2 for 3, but as we all know, you can bestow that bad girl. Are they girls? I mean,
it's a nymph. I think it has to be.
Has to be? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were just made that way to raise the ire of man. It doesn't matter. Instance, we have Hubris, because right now in this meta, I think Hubris will just rock people. I know some people said, well, you're returning it to all that stuff to their hand, they just put it somewhere else. I'm like, yes, but they have to cast it again. They're going to be tying up their mana. All the stuff they've been building towards this whole time, all back in their hand. Maybe you can even get them to discard some if it's enough.
Yeah, and the heroic decks play a minimal amount of lands, so I think it's gonna.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna catch people. It's gonna be blowout junior, especially if you do it. You take the one hit and you do it end of turn before discard. So. Yeah,
the fact that it's instant, that's gonna be a blowout. Because you do that at the end of their turn, their big creature. Yeah, you're not worrying about it your next round, and not their next round, because if they're casting it again, they're not attacking with it again.
Exactly.
It's beautiful. Included Nullify, because it gets rid of creatures and aura spells, which, again, in this meta, it is a dual nature card. It's very good, and with an all-blue deck, the double blue casting cost, it's not that big of a deal. I added also, I kept in Divination. Cat just knocked over a giant thing of pennies because I'm not playing with it.
Hilarious.
Anyway, Divination. Draw 2 cards like Divination always does. I also added a 2 of Rise of Eagles. Listening to your praise of this card made me think I will give it a shot. Now, I think when it comes out, it will be great. When you have 6 mana and you draw this card and you really need it, you get 2 birds and a scry. And I think it can be one of those finishers. But also, I have this slated for one of the side out cards, because I like to have an idea going in what I'm siding out to pull something in. And this is, I think it's worthy to be main decked, but also since it is the slowest card, this is what I have in my mind when I go to sideboard as basically the first casualty of war.
I think it's lousy against Mills. So, I mean, yeah, that would be an easy side out against Mill, and probably maybe even the font, because you don't want to draw a whole lot of extra cards against Mill.
That's true.
But I mean, just shuffling your whole sideboard into your deck is pretty good against Mill.
Right.
I have figured that out recently, so.
And the next is the Font of Fortunes. Just draw 2 cards, put a 3 of in there. I'm curious at how this is going to play out. This is the big question mark in my mind. Is this 2-drop? Is it worth a card slot? Drawing 2 cards is always good. Drawing 2 cards at near instant speed, even though you do make a down payment on it, is also very good. It's a big question mark, but it could be one of those cards that you decide, especially later on, that you just can't live without. Like Divination.
I think it looks. It's going to be worth testing, definitely. 4 mana, I mean, people play Deep Analysis. People still do in Classic Paupers, so very similar effect. So.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think it could be really good. And then, like I mentioned earlier, Nimbus Naiads, the naked water chick. You can put it on another creature. Even though all my other creatures do have flying, they can still get +2/+2 and a little insurance for being bolted out of the sky. So I don't see that as a negative either, because I'm already playing Windrake. I'm willing and able to cast a flying 2/2 for 3, and the ability to make my Vaporkin a 4/3 just sounds great. So I think it's a wonderful card.
You could have a Windrake wearing a Windrake.
Oh my god!
Just go all in on the Windrake and have a 4/4 Windrake with the Windrake on it. That would be awesome.
Yo, dog! I heard you like Windrakes.
Yes, exactly.
So we put a Windrake on your Windrake.
Excellent. That's totally awesome. I would do that.
So now we have the sideboard. I didn't really change the sideboard too much because I liked what was in there. You have Dispel, if you're playing against especially Boros. Mizzium Skin, again, for something that's targeting your stuff a lot. Negate. I like Negate against Mill a lot. And also, Dispel against Mill isn't that bad either. Razortip Whip, because the Razortip Whip seems to just be in every sideboard of every deck, just because it can fit in just about anywhere. 2 Griptide, just more ways to get rid of things. So that's my deck. Let's take a quick look at some statistics on it. Mana curve is pretty straightforward. You only have 4 1-drops and you have 2 6-drops, but you have a ton of 2-drops. So you have 4 1-drops, 15 2-drops, 12 3, and 7 4s. Seems like a lot, but since it's all blue, you're not really worrying about mana too much. I added 20 lands. I want to see how that plays out. I believe 20 lands will be fine, but it could be that I'm constantly stuck with the Rise of Eagles in my hand because I never get 6 out. But it's not. But I still think Rise of Eagles is really nice, because if you're going a long deck game and you're in a top deck war, getting 2 flyers out with 1 top deck card seems optimal. So I think it's good to have. Sample opening hand. I got 3 islands, Cloudfin Raptor, a Font of Fortunes, 2 Nephalia Seakite. Yep, I would keep it. Because you have the Raptor. I know you're not dropping anything down soon, but I wouldn't play the Raptor round 1. I would wait a little bit. I would actually play the Font of Fortunes on 2, and then possibly Cloudfin Raptor on 3, get some cards, and look for an island to play the Nephalia at some point. What are the next 6 cards? I would have drawn another Nephalia, another island, Divination, Vaporkin, Hubris, and Windrake. Not too bad. I have a lot of draw, so that's good. And if I choose to draw at the end of their turn 4, depending on if I'm on the draw or the play, I could draw into more, quite a bit more gas. So, I don't know. I think it's a good keep. What do you think?
I think, yeah, I mean, in a deck like this, you just want to build the momentum up. You want to get a little bit of tempo going. So yeah, no, it sounds good. The only thing to point out that I saw, I think 20 lands holding up counters. You might find yourself in a pinch and want to bump that up maybe 1.
Yeah.
And then Cloudfin Raptor has a hard wall. I think the biggest it can be is a 3/4, and a lot of people do run the 1/4 red blue is it dude that you can pump the power on.
Oh, okay, yeah. What
so
is
get
his...
one more evolve out of them.
I gotcha. Things to think about.
That goes against the flyer theme of the deck. I don't think I included them in the original deck because of that.
Right.
So.
I was kind of hoping for another Vaporkin-like creature. I might even consider putting in Seacoast Drake over Cloudfin Raptor, just because it comes down pretty early, not as early as Cloudfin Raptor, but it blocks a ton. The 1/3 flyer seems pretty good, and that was my other consideration. I know Cloudfin Raptor has some, definite potential, but Seacoast Drake has the here and now.
Oh yeah.
You are always going to be able to block 2-power creatures all day long, and you can fly in.
There's a lot of decks out there just bring in vanilla creatures because in this particular format they can wear stuff, and
yep.
That's not bad. Frostburn Weird was the dude I was talking about.
Frostburn Weird, yes.
Yeah, I looked him up real quick.
Frostburn Weird's a great card.
And he wears the Naiad very, very well too. So.
Yes, that's very true. Again, things to think about. These are just the decks we came up with. And now, we've gone through this, gone through the mana curve, gone through the cards. Let's talk about Heroes of Akros 2, the Boros Boogaloo.
Heroes of Akros version 2. Now, I picked this one because I like Heroic quite a bit, and David Brent designed the original version. And I saw some cards in Journey that I thought would be really quite good in it. I've actually made one revision since I put this list together. The reason I was pulled to it because it's super aggro and the format really rewards that. So starting out for Akroan Crusaders, just like David had, I added 4 of the Satyr Hoplites. That's the 1/1 hero with the traditional counters.
I love that. I like it. I like it more than Akroan Crusader, but having both in the deck seems logical.
Yeah, and the reason the Crusader made the cut is because the 1/1 chumpers a lot of the time actually remain relevant no matter what part of the game you're in. Skyguard and Wingsteed Rider, of course, are just kind of fixtures in any heroic deck. So really the only new card from Nyx out of that was the Hoplite, but I mean it's such a good card.
Right.
Just having that extra thing to do on turn 1 that isn't playing out your Shieldmate. And then I added 1 Ajani's Presence in the main deck, and 3 God's Willing. So Ajani's Presence is more for the turn 5 when you need that extra gas on your Skyguard or your Wingsteed Rider and you're playing Strive to hit both.
Oh yeah.
And a glitch, of course, you can pop it off early. 3 God's Willing because God's Willing is amazing in the format. 3 Lightning Strike because sometimes you need that extra reach or removal. And then David actually had 2 Martial Glories in there, and that's a card that I've actually overlooked quite a bit in heroic decks and kind of actually shocked at myself because it is super, super effective. I mean, targets 2 things at once for 2 mana,
right?
And one half is super aggressive and the other half is a pretty decent trick. But it's probably going to leave counters behind or 1/1 soldier tokens, so that's pretty good in the format.
The thing that kind of shocks me is Martial Glory. I know it's a gold card, but still, this card seems more appropriate in this set than it did in Ravnica, just due to its targeting, and it specifically targets. Target creature gets blah blah blah. Target creature gets. You can target the same creature. I don't know that it triggers twice, but
I'm going to put it in a deck and just sit there until I draw that, and a heroic can test that out, because I'm not sure if it does either.
Right.
It's just the one card targeting, but it is targeting twice.
Yes, exactly.
So that's definitely worth testing, because that could be like a hidden strings type of thing, which doesn't let you target the same thing on both halves, but still.
Yeah, it's a crazy card, and this is on par with the other uncommon double targeting spells that they put, that they included in the Theros block. But we didn't get anything nearly that good. Not even the Strive cards are close to this mana cost with the ability to target multiple creatures. It's a great include.
Yes, it absolutely is. We went over the enchantments for Ethereal Armors, because that's a no-brainer in a deck that you want to target stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So are the Hopeful Eidolons. I have watched people play Loyal Boros or any of the red-white heroic decks and end up at like 60 life at the end of the game, just off of the Hopefuls. Just insane. Shieldmate, mostly for the ability to pump the Ethereal Armor, but it's also a really effective blocker in the early game. And I had included Armament of Nyx, but in my revision, this is what I would actually do. I'd actually take those out and put in 3 Oppressive Rays.
Okay.
I think Oppressive Ray has more upside. It's more relevant in the whole game. And in this deck, really, you're bestowing your enchantment creatures. You really don't want to cast them out as enchantments. So you're basically playing the Oppressive Rays as a pacifism effect. And they're really good in really offensive decks, and that's what this is trying to be, a shoot around blockers really, really well. So, and it's 1 mana. I mean, it is just insanely, that would have been excellent at 2 mana, but it's just tremendously good at 1. So
this Oppressive Rays, I think, we'll see classic Pauper play. I know people may skewer me and say, "Oh my God, I'll never see classic Pauper play." I don't care. I think at 1 mana, it seems so classic to me, and I don't mean that it seems like such a classic Pauper card. It seems like, it reminds me of older sets that were kind of fun to play. This kind of 1 mana does sort of clunky things, just put your opponent off a little bit, but just enough. To me, this is like the heyday of back in the day when I played. I would have been like, oh my gosh, I love this card. I don't know. This brings back nostalgia for me. I think it's a great. I think it's really great that they included it in this set.
I think, and the fact that they put it at common, which is really nice of them for us. And then, I can see it shutting down Delvers, Goblin Sledders, just a whole bunch of really cheap, really, really strong cards in Classic. And I think when Ravnica rotates out and we go to whatever's next, I think it's going to stay in Classic Pauper or Standard Pauper for a long time. So it's got legs. It definitely has legs. So because even the next set's going to bring creatures that you want to shut down, and the next 3 sets that come out, and because M15 and then whatever the fall set's going to be. So it's going to continue to be strong. So. And then lands, I run in 19. There's not a whole lot of stuff that I actually just want to leave up. And Boros Guildgate, 6 mountains, 9 plains. So I think I actually kind of just followed David's curve on that. The curve itself is pretty slim, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Sideboard, similar to Ajani's presence, does again for when you're playing against like Durley. Again, you just get more value. One God's Willing in the sideboard for removal heavy decks. 4 Keening Apparitions. I think David had them in the main, but I moved them to the side. I think they don't have as much utility as people want them to have, but they're good to have in the sideboard. They're a 2/2 bear if they're not shooting enchantments, and that's not that impressive in this deck where everything can grow or has a secondary ability built in.
Mm-hmm.
Last Breath for meeting up against gatekeepers or doorkeepers, because that just gets rid of those guys really, really well.
Yeah, my new favorite target for Last Breath has got to be the doorkeeper.
Oh, so annoying.
Oh my gosh.
That is so annoying. Okay. I've watched some people play it. I've played it a couple times, and I'm like, just kill me already, or attack me. Just do something. Do something other than to sit there and your psychic strikes and your smug face. So, and then the whip, because sometimes you need that constant recurring source of damage, and the whip suits that really, really well. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, looks like just going over kind of the curve. Lots of 1-drops, of course. That's what you want in a really aggro deck. And actually, the curve tops out at 3 with the Wingsteed Riders. So you got all of your 1-drops, your 2-drops, your 3-drops, and really the bestow creature. You actually end up with 4 4-drops because you want to really bestow the Hopeful Eidolons more often than not. Looks like my opening hand was a Mountain, Hoplite, 2 Ethereal Armors, Akroan Skyguard, and 2 Lightning Strikes. I think that would be a loose keep. So I'd probably actually mulligan that just because while I can play the Hoplite, I can't do really anything else. I mulligan into Plains, Eidolon, God's Willing, and Hoplite. I'm actually really comfortable with that hand because I think one first turn play that will gain you some life and you have protection for it pretty much immediately. And the next 6 cards were Shieldmate, Crusader, Lightning Strike, Wingsteed Rider, and Mountain. So I don't necessarily get punished, but definitely not the next 6 cards that I would want. That would probably be pretty far back, but in a deck like this, you kind of take your lumps running 19 lands. But overall, I think it's not a bad build, considering, couple things. I didn't leave in any of the cantrip enchantments.
Yeah.
Overall, I think doing something like that, this opens up like a value opportunity for your opponent. Even though you get to replace it in your hand, you still lose the resource on board. But yeah, that's some Heroes of Akros 2.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, now we're going to talk about some theoretical new decks. We saw some cards. Each of us saw some cards that made us think possibly a new archetype, but you're gonna have to wait till next week. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel. You're already here. Go ahead and click subscribe and like. Follow us on Twitter at MagicGathStrat. Twitch TV, sometimes we're out there. Facebook, well, that's a good way to get a hold of us. Facebook/MagicGatheringStrat. And again, thanks for watching, and look forward to part 2 next week. Thank you. Bye.